Hot Springs Village Inside Out, Dennis Simpson with my friend, Mr. Kevin Meacham. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Thank you,
and
sir.
And you work where?
So I work for the Hot Springs Village Townhouse Association.
The HSV THA.
Yes, sir.
Which I happen to be the chairman of.
Yes, sir.
So we work on a daily basis with each other and haven't strangled each other yet. It's been early.
It's been close.
Close.
So far, so good.
No. Kevin and I actually have a wonderful relationship together, don't we?
Yes.
We really
I'd say
do.
so, yes.
Sincerely. But that said, most of you don't know what the THA is and what it does and where your money goes and a lot of other things. And these are all good questions. Tell us more about it, Kev.
So the Hot Springs Village THA is essentially like a smaller version of the POA. So we take care of the common areas around the townhouses. We also govern and control the color choices and material choices of the townhouses, their paint colors, their siding, roof colors, and all that. But we pretty much just oversee so that way that there's some good flow throughout the courts.
Some commonality.
Yeah, there you go. So it's just to make sure everything is well presented and aesthetically pleasing.
Well, and it's not our job. We really don't. We're not trying to hyper manage everything. Our objective overall is to keep property values up.
Correct.
We don't care what color you pick.
That's right. I mean, we don't want anything neon green, that kind of thing. So the POA threw a fit over that recently. But
just down the road. Former police officer.
Right. But we want everything to match, coordinate well, and like you said, keep property values up, keep everything maintenance well, and keep the common areas taken care of so that way everybody has a pleasant place to live.
Yeah, and just for the overview here, and we're going to go into the budget here in just a minute, which is what we really are going to talk about. But as an overview, people say, well, this is my yard. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's common areas. It can be used by any THA member. So it doesn't matter if it's in front of your unit, in front of my unit, in front of another unit, behind another unit. It doesn't matter. If it's a common property, any townhome owner can use that common property. So technically, it's not really your yard, but you do have a footprint outside your wall, which that's a whole nother ball of wax.
As a rule, it's 5 feet. There's 17 courts.
Correct.
And for the vast majority of them, you own your home and 5 feet out from that. So you say, well, I want to build a little extension. Okay, well, that's your land. But on the other side of that 5 feet, Mr. Cooper decided that is common limited property, and he deeded it to us, your THA representatives, and we're in charge of keeping that property out.
Correct. So, and as you mentioned, the rule of thumb is approximately 5 feet from your outside wall. And I always tell everybody, if you really want to know where your property line is, the only way to know 100% is to have a survey done. Yeah. So we do have copies of a lot of the plat maps to where we could kind of eyeball it and guess that kind of thing. And that's where we do our best to be able to authorize for extensions, decks, or whatever, extra plants or whatever you want to do. But as you mentioned, that's just a rule of thumb. So if you really wanted to do something elaborate or that you really want to try to do more on, you've got to have a survey done to have that.
Well, you got to have a survey, but if it's property outside and we want to make a change on common property, we can do that, but we just have to have consensus of everybody else, right?
So and the biggest thing there, and I know we're getting off topic, but
we're coming back to the budget. I promise. Me off topic. Go figure.
The biggest thing there is just to make sure you do all the proper applications. Look for permission and permitting first, and we're going to help guide you to do that. So if you wanted to do something on a common property area, typically you can, as long as it's not permanent, it's not set in concrete, that kind of thing.
Literally.
Because it's going to have to be removable, because a lot of that common property area is also easement for utilities, for the irrigation systems, the sewer lines. I mean, whatever you want to put across there. Yeah. So a lot of that will, at some point or another, may end up being dug up.
and so hence the reason you say, well, we don't want to get a permit. We don't want to. it's really kind of in your best interest.
Absolutely.
That said, let's hop back to the budget real quick.
Sure.
And the overarching question that people from outside might say are, how much are the POA, the THA dues? So you have the POA dues that are your base that get you in and out the gate, security, fire, roads, all that stuff. And then on top of that, there's a THA due. And there's not one flat number, right?
Correct. So each court is going to have its own set of dues because the maintenance for that court is all different. And two, you have different court sizes. So the bigger courts, they have more houses to divide those that cost amongst. So price per door goes down. So the smaller courts that have fewer numbers, your cost per door goes up because there's less to divide it amongst.
Well, now, so we have the budget. So all those 17 units have 17 different budgets for those resources, and then there's a reserve. What does that reserve cover?
So as you mentioned, there's a reserve account, there's an operating account. So the operating account, start there, that just handles your day-to-day cost. So that's going to take care of your weed control, your lawn control, all your daily repairs.
Sure, trash pickup, etc.
Absolutely. So then your reserve is going to be for unexpected costs. So when a storm comes through and has blows everything over, and you got a ton to repair, that's what steps in and helps out. If you have a major loss, so something that you're planning for years in advance. So if you have a gazebo
or a bridge,
or something that's an asset that's going to deteriorate over the years, you start putting the money away, and then as it needs those repairs, that comes out of the reserve.
So what we're not talking about, and what we need to share is the third rail. And the third rail, the lightning rail that you never want to touch, the blow up is that if we don't have money set aside for the bridge when it's time to replace it, and the bridge fails, or a tornado knocks out the bridge, or whatever thing that's not covered by insurance, then we don't have the reserve budget sufficient. The operating capital is not sufficient because you're not paying on that. There is a special assessment, which nobody wants. Tell me what that is.
So a special assessment is going to be for that immediate loss. It can't go towards ongoing cost. It can't go towards lawn care or anything like that. It's going to be a sudden cost and a sudden repair.
So a very short window of repair and a short window of charging. So let's be hypothetical for a second. And I'm thinking of Castellon down here that has a really beautiful bridge that goes back over to the waypoint. It's a huge asset. $50,000?
I wasn't part of that one when it was built, so I can't say 100%, but I would say probably well into the 30s, if not more.
And it's a huge bridge that goes over the edge of the cove there between DeSoto and Castellon and the waypoint. Beautiful. But the court had to set aside money for that. All the other 16 other courts didn't set aside money for that one particular bridge. That court had to set aside money for that bridge. And that court had to have excess from these budgets that we're talking about right now. Now, most of the 17 courts have like $1 or $2 or some.
They have a small
increase, I should say.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. So the increase is going to be fairly minimal for most of the courts. There are several that aren't getting an increase at all. There's a couple that are getting $2 a month per door, but there are a couple that are going $10, $15, $17 range. And we have one, which is Segovia. Segovia is getting the largest increase, and theirs is going up $43 per month per door.
They had some really extenuating circumstances.
So they did. One of the biggest contributing factors there is that this year is our first budget that we are figuring in leaf removal, which they have to do. We were kind of forced hand into that one. They are a peninsula, so I mean there's nowhere to put the leaves. Where it was going has changed hands. So
the lake's not an option. The reserve property beside it has changed hands, so it's not that. So we got to pick them up and haul them out.
It 100%. We have to. So that part has to be done, which is the biggest portion of that change, that expense.
And just behind the scenes, real quick, we negotiated with the court rep and the court for weeks, and Kevin really did a great job of this, but basically going in and saying, okay, here's our options. Here's what the providers say they'll do. What do you want to do? What number can you live with? We are not a board and a staff that says, here's what you're going to pay. We want to work with you. It's for the betterment of your court. We've had some courts, Valencia, one of our larger courts, had a big irrigation system that was failing, and they were like, we're done. So now they had plenty of reserve because they had initially had a irrigation system. But now, back to another point that I meant to mention, we talked about a special assessment. Well, the odds of Valencia having a special assessment are very low.
Correct.
Because they've got a lot of reserves. If we do have to call a special assessment, which is what, like I said, that's the third rail, how long do you have to pay it off?
So each court would have 12 months to have those funds paid back.
So right behind us, across the lake here, you see, is the Madrid courts. 151, 152 units?
Madrid is 152.
152. So if you have a $50,000 expense that has to be paid off in a year, you divide it by 152 doors, it's not delightful, but it's not horrible.
Right.
Castellon, 56, 52?
56, I think it is.
56. You got a $50,000 bridge that just failed, and you don't have any money in your reserve, and everybody has a year to pay off that $1,000 deficit. So you've got to offset that. In that 1 year, you've got to pay $1,000 worth of reserve to get that bridge back up and going, and you have to have it done in the year. These are the bylaws. These are not things Kevin and I and the board came up with. All that said, that's why we have money set aside in reserve. And a lot of people go, why are we raising our dues? We got money? Yeah.
It doesn't go as far as you think it does. So prime example, just earlier this year when the tornado came through.
Oh, yeah.
So really our biggest expense was in Coronado courts. They had some trees come down. We had one tree or a couple of trees.
Let me interrupt just for 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Trees come down. You just hire a guy with a chainsaw to come pick them up, right? Yeah,
So-
no.
So let me step back real quick. We require all of our contractors to be licensed and insured. We require them to provide, and we constantly check on these. We require liability insurance and work comp insurance. That way, everyone is protected.
It's not Bubba with a chainsaw.
Right. So that does limit our contractor pool a little bit, but we really try to make sure that everyone is covered and safe and well insured, so that way, if anything ever happened, then it's taken care of.
And to be frank about it, because we're an organization this way that Cooper founded 50-something years ago, we literally are protecting the other 944 owners. The THA has to preserve our integrity with workers' comp, which Kevin is licensed for insurance and other things, that really does a great job here. But because we're overseeing those people, then it's not Bubba with a chainsaw, so it's not Bubba with a chainsaw price.
Correct.
But for example, at Coronado, which is right over beside the Catholic Church, that had a lot of damage in that area, but luckily we just had a little, but still it cost what?
So we had several trees come down, and we had a couple that were hanging in another tree over a staircase going down to a boat dock. So that was still our responsibility because it hadn't fallen on the homeowner's property yet.
So remember, here's the homeowner, here's the 5 feet out. There's a dock going down to or a walkway going down to the dock. That physically isn't his. That owner doesn't own that.
Correct.
But they paid to have that resource, and now that resource is on common property, and now we're responsible for making sure that resource doesn't get damaged.
Correct.
And how much does it cost to take a Widowmaker tree out?
So that one tree there, we had to have a 120-foot boom crane come in and lift that off and lift it over.
12-story boom crane.
Mm-hmm. So that alone was about $8,000
for a tree.
For that 2 trees that were laying in another. So, but the whole storm, after our debris pickup for the trees that had fallen on common area, for the stump grinding, for tree removals and cutting those down and all, we spent a little over $20,000 over there just in trees and damages.
And because and thank you for watching again today. I know this is not something that we cover on the basics, but one of the things I want to bring up is that this board, and I wish they were here with me, and this general manager work diligently to keep these costs down. Tell me about the stumps that popped up right over there by the tennis courts. Oh my Lord!
So that was in the storm,
Yeah.
in the tornado, when these trees got pushed over, as many of you have seen.
And how big a round tree are we talking?
These that we're talking about were probably 3 foot diameter. I mean, they're good sized trees.
Big tree.
Absolutely.
50 to 80 years old?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big pines.
But one of them in particular, whenever they pushed over the stump, lifted up, it actually pulled it up out of the ground and then set back down. It teetered on top of a house. And so whenever it set back down, it was no longer in the hole as it was when it came
How
out.
big was this stump, Kevin?
So the hole in the stump, it was around 15 feet across.
So let me get this straight. Your 4x4 quad cab truck would have fit easily in that hole, is what I'm hearing, right?
At least the majority of it. Yeah.
The bumper might have stuck out a little on the one end.
It was a big hole, that's for sure. So there was no just cutting it off. Actually, the homeowner that had the tree on their house, they're responsible at that point for the tree because it's on their house. So they had it cut off, and the stump's just laying there out of the ground. It was too big; it wouldn't go back.
Incredibly
in the
unsightly.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
So the board voted to pay to haul those stumps out, straighten up that area. Mm-hmm. The natural thing is, well, let's save some money. Let's just tip it back up. It ain't going back in that hole.
Not that one.
Not the big one.
You would have to lift it up and turn it and set it back down, and equipment couldn't do it.
So this is kind of a shot, and this is what I wanted to do, and thanks, Kevin, again. Mm-hmm. But this is kind of a shot behind the day-to-day operations. You drive by and you see, well, there's a guy with a chainsaw cutting down a tree on THA property, or somebody's mowing the lawn or blowing the leaves at DeSoto or whatever. It is DeSoto, Castellon, which is across from the Waypoint. Why can I never think of the one? La Coruna, which is up by the Barcelona Road Baptist Church. Guadalajara, that's 4. Then there's.
Are you naming all of them?
I'm going to try.
I'll wait.
Oh, he works with them every day, and I look at the numbers and go, Then there's Madrid. Then there's Cortez. What have I got? 7? 6.
So you got DeSoto. You said DeSoto, Castellon, La Coruna, Madrid,
Guadalajara. And Madrid. Okay, so there's 5. Cortez.
Okay,
I've got this end of the village. I'm good. I don't need it. No.
So you missed Segovia.
I missed Segovia. Oh, the very first one. Yeah.
You missed Valencia.
Oh, the big one. Yeah. 101 people.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you got Majorca 2, Majorca 4,
which are over on Lake Penada.
Mm-hmm. So then you have Arista,
which backs up to Lake Balboa.
Balboa Cove. Also in Balboa.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Magellan,
Divino,
mm-hmm.
also in Balboa. Then you have, and then I'm drawing a blank. So Lanza. And let's see, Cortez,
Coronado. Oh yeah, the one we just talked about.
And we're missing one more.
I'm thinking it's over
Villa Allegra,
which is over by DeSoto Golf Course. And all of these, for what it's worth, DeSoto Golf Course and DeSoto Townhouse Courts were the very first one, and that was where Keep Cooper would bring people in 3 days, 2 nights for a tour, 90 minutes. And you're located on the stinking golf course, and it's heaven. It's gorgeous,
Absolutely.
They sold stuff right and left. Well, as they moved on to Los Logos, which they made a timeshare development, then they took DeSoto and turned it into a townhouse association or townhouse court. Then they added Valencia. Then they added Castellon and all that. And frankly, and I've said this before, Kevin, and I've said this to the board many times, we are standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, sure.
There are people that really thought this out. In case anybody wondered, we talk about Cooper as if it's just a throw-off. Mr. Cooper actually happened to be an attorney in West Memphis, is how he got his start. And a very, very smart man. They made some mistakes, but they held their word, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the budget is being held when? The budget vote is being held when?
So the vote is going now. Our deadline is November 22nd. That's a Friday. So the cutoff is noon. So all ballots are to be turned into the office by noon that Friday.
And the ballots are now emailed.
Correct.
Email, not exclusively. If you don't want to vote by email, which has saved $1,000 probably every time. Easy. Not to mention labor with the staff. But roughly saving about $1,000 by doing the email. But you need to look in your email, make sure that vote@HSVTHA did not go to spam. That email address is vote@HSVTHA. please look in your junk folder. Please help us save $1,000 this way. But if you don't want to do that, you can make a paper ballot. How do you do that?
So if you don't see your email address, or if you don't want an email, feel free to give us a call at the office. That number is 501-922-1375. If you already didn't have an email on file with us, we have already mailed you out a ballot. So you should have gotten it already. But again, if you didn't, just feel free to give us a call at the office.
Because there's only one vote and one ballot per unit. Sorry.
So you're only getting one copy, unless you let us know it didn't come through, then we'll send you another one. But if you can stop by the office, and that's 1 Paralina Lane. You can stop by there.
And how do you get there?
So you come in the west gate, go to the stop sign, the 4-way stop there at Colella, turn right into Valencia Court. Second road on your left is Paralina, and we're right there on the corner. Office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 2. But feel free to swing in there. We can print one off. You can sign it right there, and you're a done deal. Or you can call us at the office, and we'll drop another one in the mail for you.
So let me recap. There's 17 courts, which we barely mentioned, but we got them. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of us. We're together. But there's 17 courts. Many have no increases at all. So you think, why do I have to vote? Because Mr. Cooper set up the system that is all 17 courts have to vote on all 17 other courts' budget. So, for example, you say, well, we're not getting an increase, so why would I vote? Because if we don't get 50% plus 1, we have to do this again. And you'll have to have signs in your yard again, and the budget will be delayed, and you won't be able to get your lawn care the way you want. We're trying to make sure that we have a seamless interaction by January 1st is what we're shooting for. So again, the deadline is November the 22nd at noon.
Correct.
You can drop off a paper ballot, or you can email. We strongly encourage email, and you will get an email. If you own multiple units, you'll get an email per each unit.
Correct.
And you only get to vote once per time. But we have to have 50% plus 1 for this vote to count, or we're just wasting time, money, energy, and effort, as it were.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Well, Kevin, anything else you want to add today?
I'm good.
He's good.
Thank you.
He's very good. Dennis Simpson, Hot Springs Village Inside Out, my friend, Mr. Kevin Meacham. We'll see you next time.
All right.